Hi, everybody. Well, I know it's been a while. Uh, I have been just absolutely up to my forehead in work finishing up my project, Cassini. And I'm happy to announce that it's done. In a couple hours, I'm heading over to CMAC. That's our Community Media Access Collaborative, a wonderful place where anybody can sign up, be a member, and learn how to make your own movies and all of that good stuff. They also are available for subcontract work, which is what I did with them recently. And we're going to put the final mix of the soundtrack onto the film. And then on Tuesday, the film will officially be released at 12 a.m. And anybody can watch it anywhere, anytime. This has been a long, long journey, and I am glad it's over. But as is my nature, now that it's done, I'm already sketching out ideas for my next piece. So this all started a couple of years ago. I was watching with my wife a documentary, one of many, about the Cassini mission to Saturn. Cassini was launched in 1997, spent 7 years getting to Saturn, and spent until September of 2017 orbiting Saturn, visiting its moons, taking pictures, mapping, all kinds of wonderful stuff. And in terms of just the amount of data sent back, Cassini is currently the record holder for the most successful NASA mission ever. The particular documentary we were watching at the time was about the last days of the mission and how Cassini ended. And I found myself kind of getting emotional about how Cassini ended. And the next day I got up and I was in here doodling and came up with some ideas. And I had a concept for telling the Cassini story in music. And we would throw NASA images from Cassini into the mix to kind of enhance that story. My wife got up and I shared with her what the idea and the concept was, and I said, "Is this crazy?" And she said, "Yes, but you should do it anyway." So the concept that I wanted to exploit in telling the Cassini story was the idea of making Cassini a character and representing the people guiding her along her journey as spirit guides. So the story is told without words, but we have lots and lots of voices. So there's this idea in philosophy that when we throw our heart and soul into something, that maybe we impart in that object a piece of our soul. This has been said about, for example, a Stradivarius violin, that Antonio Stradivarius poured his heart and soul into every one of those instruments, and that's why they still sound wonderful 300 years later. So I took this idea and put it to a spaceship. So the music tells the story through wordless singing, and, you can see it on Tuesday when it comes out. So I started working on the piece, and I figured, I'm just going to get this done somehow by hook or by crook. I'm just going to, keep plugging away and try to get the next piece of the puzzle together and make it all happen. And about a year in, I had about half the music worked out, and I'd sketched out ideas for how the movie was going to go together. And I was having a meeting at the Fresno Arts Council with the director, Lilia Chavez. And Lily is a really terrific person. You can sit down with her anytime and she'll give you a lot of good ideas of how to move forward. And she told me about Measure P. And several years ago, the voters of Fresno decided that they wanted some of their hard-earned tax dollars spent on the arts. Fresno Arts Council was tasked with administering these funds, and she suggested I apply for this. I figured I had a snowball's chance in hell of getting a grant for doing this particular project, but lo and behold, I did. And what that really did was it allowed me to expedite the project, get it done in a timely fashion, and it also allowed me to do something very important. Everybody involved got a just wage for their efforts. Measure P is all about getting artists paid for their work. It's also about by Fresno and for Fresno. So in the case of my project, dozens of Fresno creative people were employed to do this project, and now the project is going to be available to the public. Everybody gets to enjoy it. It was quite a journey. I spent a lot of time here recording the instrumental parts for the music of Cassini. I was able to employ members of the Fresno Community Chorus Master Chorale to sing the spirit guide part, and I was lucky to secure Isabel Bayrakdarian to sing the solo soprano part representing the voice of Cassini. So we had quite the adventure in recording the soundtrack. I had to get my recordings over to Maximus Media, and then we had to get the choir in, and I had prepared a kind of a backing track for them to listen to and sing to. And we laid down these tracks, and it all sounded wonderful, and gosh, wasn't that a great thing? And then about a week later, we discovered that the click track that I had put on the backing thing for them to listen to and sing to was bleeding out into the microphones. In other words, enough sound was escaping from their headsets to be picked up by the very sensitive microphones that were used in the studio to pick up the voices. Now, theoretically, this should be something that was easy to remove. In the digital age, one should be able to just filter out those clicks. Well, that did not work. My audio engineer, Robert, went to absolutely heroic efforts to try and get those clicks removed so we wouldn't have to re-record, but it just wasn't happening. The problem is that those kinds of digital filter devices, when they take something out, they're degrading what you want to keep. And it made the singer sound like a video game from the 1980s. So we were going to have to do something about that. Meanwhile, over at CMAC, Claudio Lasso was assigned by the CMAC staff, management, to be in charge of editing my movie. And he and I had regular meetings. He was sifting through all of this incredible treasure trove of material that we got from NASA and a few other sources, and putting the movie together, and it was coming together nicely, step by step. Of course, I have to go and thank Leslie Deutsch, who's a former Jet Propulsion Laboratory employee, worked on parts of the Cassini mission. Initially, I had trouble finding all of this material because the NASA website is just absolutely enormous. And he sent me the correct links and got us all straightened out on that. But back to the audio recording. We managed to get Isabel in, and we did her recording with the same backing track, but we didn't have the click bleed problem. So that was good news. But with the choir tracks, it was just no go. We were going to have to re-record the choir. There was no money in the budget to bring the choir back, and so I had to go, as my granddad used to say, with my hat in hand and go talk to the folks, and they were more than happy to help me out because they thought it was an exciting project. So we got them back on Wednesday, the 28th of March, or May, 28th of May, and then re-recorded that evening. On the 29th of May, we kind of put the soundtrack together as best we could, did a rough mix, And then on the 29th, the Friday, we dubbed it into the film that Claudio had finished. Barely got all the titles and everything in. And then on Saturday afternoon, we had the private premiere for all the people that had worked on the project. And Leslie Deutsch and other people from Jet Propulsion Laboratory showed up. And to be completely honest, that presentation was a little disappointing for me because the soundtrack was not right. The balancing of all the parts was just not good. So in the weeks that followed the premiere, we really worked to refine the soundtrack and get it just right. And so today we are going to dub that final soundtrack onto the film, and then it will go public after that. So on Tuesday, the 24th, it will be available online. It's going to be on a couple of different YouTube channels. It will probably be on the CMAC website. I will be posting on social media and here on YouTube all of the information on that. It's also going to be worked into the CMAC television schedule. In the Fresno area, if you get Comcast TV service or AT&T UVerse, it's going to be available on those channels. It's in the 90s. 93, 94, 95 on Comcast and Channel 99 on UVerse. CMAC has 3 channels. There's one called Public, Education, and then Government. And basically Public is anything and everything. It's the projects that CMAC members have put together and so on and so forth. Education is specifically stuff that is educational, and then of course Government is just following our local government in action. And so I'll probably appear on the Public channel and maybe over on the Education channel. And then we're hoping later this year and into next year to be able to do some live performances of Cassini. I constructed this piece so that it can be performed live, so that a group of musicians can play and sing the music in synchronization to the film as it's being shown. And that should be a fun project, and there'll be more on that in upcoming videos. So I know I haven't posted a video in a while, and I thank you, all my subscribers, for being patient with me. As soon as Cassini is available next week, it will be the feature video on my page. You can open up my page and it'll be right there. Thank you so much for being a subscriber and supporter of my work here on YouTube. And I look forward to sharing my big project with you. Cassini's the biggest thing I've ever done. And I look forward to working on the next thing and making more beautiful stuff for you to enjoy. Thank you so much. See you next time.